meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the action from the closed session, we have nothing except in regards to the town administrator offer that we have. I think our attorney is going to mention this.
So there was no action taken in closed session other than with respect to the town council's desire to hire a new town manager. And if the town wishes to hire Jack Hobbs, there needs to be a motion to hire Mr. Hobbs as the town manager based upon the compensation package that's outlined in your letter, Mayor Phyllis, of May 4th, 2021.
I'd like to make a motion.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. Next up, council
that work?
discussion.
Does council wish for me to stick around for their...
No, sir, you can be dismissed.
Thank you. Y'all have
Yes,
a great
sir.
day.
Thank you.
Have a good day, Grady.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grady.
Moving on to our council discussion. Does any member of council have anything?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you have anything, Charlie?
Nope. No.
Sorry, I got three things. First, I wanted to say thank you to the volunteers from Sunset Vision. That's a Sunset Beach nonprofit for painting the 44 beach access monument markers, and to DPW for supplying the paint and supplies and power washing the markers ahead of time. Second item is that just to report that the Committee to Honor American Veterans, which are responsible for the Veterans Memorial at Sunset Beach Town Park, discovered that there was some possible vandalism to the Veterans Memorial over the weekend, possibly over the weekend. Several of the granite wall caps were damaged, and it appears that they were struck by something solid like a hammer or similar. And I just ask everybody to please respect the Veterans Memorial and the property there. The third item I have is I attended the bi-monthly Grand Strand Area Transportation Study meeting last Friday. The main point is that the two resolutions that the Sunset Beach Town Council made, one in January 2020 and the other one in April 2021, are having an impact in that North Carolina Department of Transportation and the Carolina Bay Parkway Study Committee is seriously considering our proposal and other recommendations for routing the Carolina Bay Parkway extension inland of US 17 and terminating somewhere in the vicinity of US 130 or the northern end of Charlotte. The big thing is that there will be a public hearing discussing the alternative routes that they propose that will take place in early 2020. And that's it. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we're going to move on to public comments. We have a couple of people that's back there. John, if you want to let them speak, this is,
Speak to the mic back here.
yeah.
All right, public comments, if
They've
you
been
would.
sitting
Speak
a
in
while, so we're
your
gonna go ahead
name
and
and
let 'em-
address,
I don't think
please.
it's anything to do with the agenda.
Go ahead.
I'm Teresa Massey, 101 West Main Street, Sunset Beach.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce ourselves. I am Teresa Massey, my husband Gary. We are the new owners of the Sunset Beach Fishing Pier business. We hope to continue to provide a successful business just as Mark and Becky Kaplan has for the past 27 years. I am retired from the city of Morganton with 32 years of service, 27 of that in the Public Works Department as a senior administrative assistant, and since I have been contracted back to serve as the Public Works Director in his absence. Gary retired from the city with 30 years of service, serving as a policeman and a fireman. We have vacationed and fished at Sunset Beach for the past 27 years. We've owned a home here for about the last 9 years. I come today to address an issue that happened last week with the property we lease. The property is across from the pier entrance that we use for overflow parking. It seems from speaking with a few of the town employees that letters were sent out to the landlords about items in the right-of-way that would need to be removed to allow for more parking on the street. In the supposed letter, it stated that they had 30 days to comply. I spoke with our landlord. He did not receive a letter about this, nor did we as the tenants leasing the property. Last Tuesday, my husband noticed that the telephone poles that had been in place for approximately 6 years had been pushed back onto the property. In calling the town inquiring if they had moved them, we were told by a young lady that the letters were mailed out, but she did not think that we got one. This is when we first found out that the letters supposedly mailed, otherwise we would not have known anything about them. We later received a call from Public Works Director Dustin, and he said that they had moved the poles back because they were in the right-of-way, and they were going to take down the no parking signs and start allowing parking in that area. Dustin agreed to meet with us the next morning, Wednesday, March the 12th. While speaking with Dustin, he was asked several times if he or the Public Works crews had moved anything else in the right-of-way on any piece of property on the island. He finally said that he was not aware of any other piece of property on the island where they moved anything from the right-of-way. First of all, none of you in this room would like it if someone from Public Works, the state, or whomever came onto your property and moved anything in the right-of-way or not. It's common courtesy to notify a resident or a tenant by mail or go to the in person before going onto their property to remove items or take items down. With this being said, the pier has been open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day for weeks now. Most of those times during those days and hours we were at the pier. If not, we were within 4 minutes of returning to the pier. Before Public Works took a tractor and pushed the poles back, it would have been nice if they would have drove across the street to let us know what was going on. But instead, they moved the poles without informing us.
I just want to tell you about 30 seconds, okay, just so you can get your pinpoints out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, common courtesy would have been nice since we did not receive a letter. Instead, our piece of property was singled out and poles were pushed back onto the property. Now, I know that Dustin and the Public Works crews did not make that decision themselves to move the poles that have been in place for years. They have to do what they are told by whomever made the decision to put parking in this location. Since letters were mailed out and are public knowledge, we asked for copies of them. And just this morning, we received those copies, as well as a copy of the one for our property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Massey. Since taking over the business, we have worked with the fire inspector, and we've done everything that he's asked us to do. We have worked with the town building inspectors, the health department, and even the mayor, who received a complaint about our security light in the parking lot shining in a resident's window. Everything that has been asked of us, we have completed. If we had received notification that the poles needed to be moved with explanation and 30 days to comply, we would have been more than happy to comply with this as long as everyone else complies and we are all treated with the same respect and fairness. Common courtesy goes a long way whether you're running your own business, operating a local government, or just in everyday life. It is my understanding that years ago, the police department had the no parking signs placed on this property due to the potential hazard it caused. This area joins the only major intersection on the island. During the summer months, weekends, and especially holidays, cars are backed up in all directions trying to make turns. There are pedestrians walking across the street, bicycles, and golf carts, all in this small congested area. One thing that bothers me is the potential dangers that you're putting visitors and citizens in while allowing people to park, causing sight visibility problems, congestion to people in and out of their vehicles while other cars are turning and or passing. I have been told that there are several city council members that live on the island or own property on the island, and they are pushing for more free parking. As far as the town gaining 5 to 7 parking spaces by moving the poles back, it will not affect our business at all. My main concern and the point I want to make today is that we do not believe we were treated fairly. In my many years working for a city, I was told to be respectful, treat others with respect, and always be fair and treat others the way you want to be treated. Our property that we leased was singled out. We feel that you acted underhandedly just because we are the new lessees of the property. This is not a very welcoming feeling to us as new business owners. We asked from now on any problem or concerns be handled in the correct way with respect honesty, and fairness, and not us being treated unfairly. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that was the only two for public comments. Moving on to old business, an amendment for Town Code Ordinance, Chapter 70, Section 7099, penalty. Chief Claymore, you have the floor.
Good morning. I believe this is just a housekeeping matter that wasn't addressed via an ordinance when we had talked about the fine increases in this section. So you'll see there the draft ordinance in front of you, which is what was previously discussed. For fines that go unpaid, the initial fine would be $25. After 72 hours, an increase to $50, and after 7 days, an increase to $100 for each separate offense.
Do we have any discussion on this?
No. No.
All right. Do I have a motion that we accept this ordinance?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on next, our state of emergency. Councilman Corbett had added this, so go ahead, sir.
The governor changed the executive order last week, removing the requirement to wear a face mask inside and outside buildings. We have been consistent heretofore with our superseding proclamation to support the governor's guidance. With that, we have a couple questions I think that we need to specifically address. One is, when will we be ready to open town hall to walk in, no appointments, etc.?
We are prepared to open June 1st, Tuesday.
And it'll take another 2 weeks?
Yes, sir. We're still working with the lettering for the doors to make sure that everybody knows of the changes. Building inspection department now is an exit-only door, and the other door for administration and police department is the main door. And we're getting a few things worked out through staff of how people will maneuver through the building, which will be a new requirement that they'll come in the main lobby, they'll be addressed, and then the person that they're coming to see will meet them in the back hall and take them to where they're going. So we just need to work out a couple of bugs in the system, and then right after Memorial Day, we'll be ready to open town hall.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The second one is specifically, when will the town be ready for special events in the park? Do we have to do anything special for that?
Just basically to change gears from making sure that Cindy has everything that she needs, and then the applications are in place, and any meetings that she needs to have with the vendors or the people who want to hold special events there. She just needs a little bit of time to get everything ready, get everything checked out, like make sure the power's on, the
Could
water.
that possibly
make sure.
be ready by June the 1st also?
Yes, we will be ready
Okay.
June
So we
1st.
could
So
actually
June-
aim for full-fledged June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and with that, occasionally there are groups that have meetings in town hall, in the conference room and stuff like that. Is it safe to say we do that June 1st also?
Yes. When we open town hall, it will be open as if COVID never happened.
Okay. Now, the governor did keep his state of emergency in effect, and part of that is to retain the ability for the state, and I would assume municipalities underneath, to be able to get federal funds and other relief funds that are in there. So I would suggest that we modify our proclamation, our superseding proclamation, in such a way that that states that we continue to support and follow the governor's executive order. which at this point is effective through the 11th of June, that we encourage everybody to get their vaccinations and continue to, well, we don't, not keeping distance anymore, but we do have to wash our hands pretty regularly.
Just a point of clarification, John. The no mask was for fully vaccinated people.
There are, yes, it's no mask inside and outside for fully vaccinated people.
Yes.
People without vaccinations are encouraged to wear masks,
Right.
but there's no enforcement mechanism, and it's a honor system.
That's true.
So we would strongly encourage everybody to get vaccinated, and if they're not vaccinated, to be good, responsible citizens and wear their mask.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, John.
Do we need a,
Thank you,
No.
John.
oh, do we need a motion or anything?
No.
No, okay.
All right. Moving on to new business, the UDO amendment, Article 6, 7, Appendix A, regards to town home and duplex. Mr. Chad?
How are you, sir?
Good.
Mayor Board, this is a staff report this is a staff text amendment report that provides an overview and draft proposal for provisions to subdivide townhome and duplex dwellings as a part of a typical subdivision procedure. Currently, townhome developments are only addressed as part of the planned residential development PRD procedure, and that the towns in the town GDO, where this procedure is acceptable method for townhome development, it is typically utilized for large development projects with a mixture of housing types that may be proposed. Accordingly, similar development project proposals for townhomes and duplexes may not be suitable for the PRD process. The text amendment was initiated in a coordination to discuss from the development community as to concerns for the future of fee simple division of duplex and townhome developments. In an effort of good faith, the town has initiated a proposal at the direction of the Assistant Town Administrator, Lisa England. At the duly held meeting, the Planning Board on May 6th, the board voted to recommend approval to this text amendment with minor clarifications. This is to set a public hearing at the June 7th meeting. And I have Wes McLeod with the K for Council of Governments who helped draft this text amendment for any questions as well.
Does any member of council have any questions?
No?
Yes, I have
Go
a
ahead, sir.
question. Could you clarify how this will affect the duplexes that are beachfront?
Yeah, Wes, you want to answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Board. Yes, sir. So at the request of, in consultation with the development community, there is a need where they wanted to allow duplexes to be divided fee simple. So the land underneath, the ground underneath can be conveyed to the owner, not just essentially the building. And so this has been a drafted potentially that would apply to all duplexes in the town, even if they exist currently. So if there are units on the beach, on the oceanfront units, right now, if they come in and they want to divide that up for separate ownership, it would be in a condominium form of ownership. The town wouldn't necessarily have a say in the approval, and then the land underneath would be held in common. This would allow that to be divided. Now, we did place a clause in here that said that covenants and deed restrictions need to be in place so that, say, for example, on that beachfront lot, someone divided it and then they came in and demoed that structure. Could they build two separate units? With those covenants and restrictions in place, they should not be able to do that. That being said, enforcing and regulating covenants and deed restrictions is not necessarily something that's under the purview of the town.
Right. So in the reverse situation, if there's a duplex and someone wants to convert that into a single dwelling, is that permitted?
they would need to recombine. So say that it was divided, they would need to recombine the lot, which would just be an exempt recombination. And then after that project was demolished, and then they could build, single family on the recombined lot.
So they'd have to go through a replatting of that lot.
Correct. It
essentially.
wouldn't have to go to the planning board, but it'd have to go to Chad, to the UDO administrator, for approval of that combined plat.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And I know that there's been some concerns that were raised about, why are townhome special use permits? They don't have to be. I mean, the reason that they were initially drafted that way, or proposed to be drafted that way, is we typically think as a townhome is a multifamily unit, because it's a certain number of units in one structure, and so it's sort of viewed in the same level of intensity from a development perspective. Now, you don't have units on top of each other and so forth. That being said, if this council feels that those should be, just a permitted by right, that's something that can be changed in this proposal. So it would just be townhomes would go through the standard subdivision process. The preliminary plat would go to the planning board, and then the final plat would be approved by the planning board. Right now, the way that it's drafted is you get a special use permit for your initial approval from the Board of Adjustment, and then the final plat's approved by the planning board. So I just wanted to make sure, I just want to bring that point up, because I know it's something that seemed to be a point of contention.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Sorry.
That's fine. The amendment as it's drafted now,
Yeah.
or proposed, would require a special use permit for the townhome approval process. You'd go to the Board of Adjustment
That's the same multifamily
process.
that we put in existence several months ago.
That's correct, and that was, the reason it's drafted that way, to sort of keep in line with that decision. That doesn't mean, you can make townhomes permitted by right and not subject to special use. It's kind of up to you guys. That's just a sort of a policy decision. I wanted to point it out because those are some comments that were received and have been received by the planning board, and I believe maybe perhaps some of you all.
Anyone else?
So what we're approving today still requires the special use permit
Yes,
for the multifamily.
and
But
you're
what
not
it-
even
We're
approving
not
it.
approving, we just
What?
have to put it to the
Yeah.
public.
We're approving the public hearing
Yes,
for
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the key aspect of this change is affecting the property line in the multifamily house?
Yes, sir. So that, there is a process in PRD that lets you subdivide below the minimum lot size. This would make it a process, an additional process, not only for townhouses, but also for duplexes to be divided along a common wall. And, and the ground underneath also be owned by a third party.
Okay. And so we have several developments in our town and ETJ area that this would affect. And this is, by adopting this zero line, that enables these projects to go forward? Is it-
Yes, sir. Well, so, we're not stopping any of those initial approvals. The way that they were approved, this allows an additional option for them. For example, there's a large H&H project. When it was approved, it was clear in the approval that they wouldn't be allowed to subdivide those duplexes. This would state that if you want to come back and split those duplex units and create another lot, you can do that. Now, we've specified in here only after your foundation has been poured, so that protects the property owners and citizens, anyone that's going to buy that property. They know that that project's underway, and they're not just buying a half piece of lot and then hope that the builder doesn't walk, and then they have to build that thing themselves, or at least requiring that first step. And for townhomes, similar to the way the county requires infrastructure, we're just saying for those townhome final plats, you need to make sure you've got the infrastructure in to serve those things, before they can be platted. That's similar to any other of your subdivision rules in place.
So we are in effect making it easier and more flexible for the developers to build the multifamily homes that they desire to build.
That's correct.
And the key part of it is they need to put the infrastructure in before they can sell it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's been a common policy by this town for quite a few years now, not to mention that Brunswick County is quite clear that they need all their utilities in place prior to them signing off on a final plat as well.
Anything else?
I'm comfortable with that now. Thank you.
Do I have a motion that we'll put into public hearing for the
Yeah.
June the 7th meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
No more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Next up is our disposition of directives, other than the public hearing for the UDO 6, 7, and Appendix A on June the 7th. Do we have anything else?
You'll notice the addition of the American Rescue Plan Fund creation. Tara is keeping up with this, the American Fund Rescue Plan coming from Washington, and this is the next step in that phase. But they didn't tell us when we need to adopt it, just
Put it
that we
on
need
for
to make
future
you aware
consideration. Yeah.
that we will be adopting a separate fund that will hold these funds.
Anyone else? All right, public comment. John, you want to make sure nobody's back there? Just double check.
Nobody's here.
All right. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.